The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Okay, now we're back. A little technical glitch in the booth. It's a miserable rainy day on the show, so everyone's having a little bit of a problem. So I'm CJ.
And I'm Chip.
And we're the uncomfortable people in the side of the administration here in Fall River. I think we're also troublemakers, hooligans, and
we are a lot of things.
Yeah.
But what we are is very happy today on this rainy day because we have had a piece of history. For the first time in the history of Fall River, a recall petitions were issued for an elected official. It was a victory for the people. It showed that people who are not happy with the way government is being run can exercise their right when they band together. It was the work of a collective bunch of people from all websites, all Facebook pages, Twitter, people who don't go on Facebook like me, and a few other people. But it was a united effort, and the theme of that effort was we're not happy, and we want to change this government and make it accountable.
Well, you know, we say on this show, if you want change, be the change. And that's what we've done here. You know, the people want change, and they're going to be the change. And the mayor announced yesterday, once those petitions were issued, that he obtained an attorney from the state of Rhode Island, from Pawtucket, to handle this recall effort, because he's going to fight it in whatever legal way he possibly can. Well, hooray for you, Mr. Mayor, because obviously you're telling the voters and the people of Fall River that I don't care what you want. I'm going to do what I want, and I'll find some legal maneuvering to get my way. And that's basically what it's been for the past 5 years, that it's been your way or the highway, and it's going to stop. And I think that, you know, the voters are speaking loudly and clearly. And last week, when this started to arise, the mayor turned around and said, I will have an open forum. He never approached one of the original 12 signers or any member of the committee to recall Mayor Flanagan on setting up an open forum, because they would have loved to have had one. And I think they still would meet with the mayor. And also, I mean, we would love to have the mayor here on any one of our Fridays for the hot seat. This way you can address it in the way you see fit. I know that we have several city councilors which will be coming on to the show over the next couple of weeks on our Friday shows, which has the hot seat. But this is a memorable and historic event. And the people of Fall River has made this event. And right at the city council meeting, we were talking about it in Citizens Input Time. Many of you watched it, I'm sure, or were present. And many of the city councilors knew that they're on the chopping block, that they could be next. And as a matter of fact, one city councilor went public on WSAR and said, you know, I'm not going to sign this petition because you may recall me next. And, you know, it's true. I mean, anyone on that council could be next. And Jordan Sylvia, who was one of the lead petition signers, he made it very clear at the city council meeting to Councilor Jazel Correa that, you know, if it wasn't for certain members in the corner of the room, he would have been placed on the recall as well. And this wasn't personal, but I think in that sense it might have been a little personal. Every member of this committee has their own personality. Every member of the committee has something that they want to put forward. But there are no agendas. But I want to make perfectly clear, before all the lies and the misinformation that's out there, we have the correct information, and that is, because a lot of people are saying, well, if the mayor gets recalled, well, he can run in the election. No, the ballot for this election is one ballot in two parts. The first part says, do you wish to recall Mayor William Flanagan? Yes or no? If the yeses prevail, they get the most votes. The second part of the ballot is counted. The second part of the ballot is all the people who wish to run for mayor. And the larger that number is, the more diluted the vote gets. So this could be another Al Herron situation. But that's the trade-off here. I mean, Chip, what about this, is dangerous? What about this could be detrimental?
Well, there are a lot of dangerous things, and the first thing is what's going to happen during this process. There's going to be a lot of pushback from the political hacks and the people who are there. It's already begun. But before I get into that, I want to make something perfectly clear. And as CJ said, this coalition is made up of people that it's a very diverse group. We have young people, we have people who have been political activists for many years, like you and I, and we have people who are new to this. But they're engaged, they're involved, which is our comment. But I'm going to tell you my personal philosophy. A recall election is something that is taken up because there is a very serious problem. Not every time you disagree with a city councilor on an issue or any politician that you recall them like a child that's upset. This recall election was initiated because of the fact that the mayor misrepresented himself and his platform to the people. This is the reason that I attempted the recall 2 years ago, and I'm involved again today, even though that we should have gotten it 2 years ago. But on that, I will say I'm very happy because he had another year to prove how disingenuous he is. The fact is that the reason we want to recall the mayor is, number one, he said during his run for this term, he wouldn't institute pay-as-you-throw, and he did. Now, whether you're for pay-as-you-throw or you're against pay-as-you-throw, you should not be in favor of a politician lying to you. The budget fiasco, $16 million in arrears, and then misrepresenting things. One misrepresentation after another, producing a budget that has burdened the taxpayers with fee increases because he doesn't put in, the budget is a sham. Right after the budget, we find out we have another $51 million in capital outlay projects that he wants to do. That should have been in the budget. That's what departments do. You don't pass a budget and say, this is my budget for next year, and then say, oh, by the way, I got to build 6 other buildings, so I need another $5 million. This is why this mayor should be recalled. He is not adhering to his fiduciary responsibility. Let me make this perfectly clear. At least to me personally, a recall election is the last resort. I will not support a recall election for any elected official because I disagree with their position. As long as they are truthful and upfront with their position. I can debate and disagree with anybody on any political issue, but at least if they tell me and stand by their position, what I will not tolerate and what deserves a recall is when someone has misled the public and is elected under false pretenses, which I feel this mayor has become a master at. So with that, we're going to get into what's going on. I was called as a spokesman for the recall by WSAR, and apparently they said some of the proponents of the mayor are saying that you people are going to the cemeteries to get signatures. Well, come on, guys. I know desperate times breed desperate measures, but let's not get desperate. You proponents of Will Flanagan, we know what satirical comments are. We know what poking a little fun. If I say that the mayor lies so much that if he was Pinocchio, his nose would be in California. You can't take that statement literally. The fact is, I guess someone involved in a recall posted on Facebook that, you know, we were going to do a mayor daily in Chicago and get people from the cemetery, which is number one absurd. The signatures are checked by the elections committee. Now they're going to have to check cross-reference with debts. I don't know. The fact is, it's just something to divert attention away from why this recall has been initiated, for fiscal mismanagement and basically lying to the people. So let me dispel that rumor and ask the people who are involved in this, because, you know, remember, even when you're trying to poke fun, they're going to try to spin it to divert attention away from our mission, which is to secure the signatures and let the people speak.
Well, you know, as the spokesman for the press, you know, to the press, you are part of the press. You're doing your job as spokesman, and at least you designate that here. But again, people who remember my campaigns when I ran for state representative, remember when we found 115 or 105, some number over 100 of dead people who were still on the voter registration list. And we found out at that time that the city clerk's office does not send the death certificate information up to elections so that they're removed. So I don't know if they've corrected that problem since or not, but I am very much against any type of voter fraud or election fraud whatsoever, and I would be the first one to stand up and, you know, speak against it and to call it out. It's not acceptable, because I firmly believe that it robs the people of their voice when that happens. But speaking of the people's voice, yesterday's Citizens Input Time was kind of interesting. You and I both had our moment in the sun, and I must give my compliments, which I very rarely do, to President Camara. He ran the meeting professionally, according to Cushing's rules, and he actually gave people a little more than the 3 minutes without gaveling them down. And I think that was important, especially at yesterday's meeting, because there were a lot of people for Citizens Input Time who wanted to make a statement, and some of those statements went over a little bit. And I think that was appropriate, because again, that is the people's house, and it is the people's government. So, you know, kudos to you, President Camara. You know, like many other members of the City Council, I hope that some of the comments we've made, either in the City Council chamber or in the City Council foyer, that you don't take them personal. You just need to understand that we're making our comments based upon your actions as a political figure and in your job. I can hate you in your job, but I may still respect you and appreciate you as an individual. And that's something a lot of people in Fall River have a hard time to do. But we spoke about the budget, we spoke about the bonding, and we spoke about $400,000 plus for buying land so that they could roll it over into open space and put it into the park. Now, the big old $51 million capital improvement project, which, how is Waltzing Water capital improvement?
I guess that's along the same vein as the $100,000 fountain in a park the size of a postage stamp.
Yeah, that's got to be it.
So I guess that's the rationale behind that.
It's got to be.
Waltzing Water. We are going to compete with the Bellagio.
Yep.
and its water show.
Yeah,
in Las
I think
Vegas.
so.
Yeah.
You know, so we're going to spend $1 million+ to build Waltzing Water down in the waterfront. That's going to attract millions of people, coming from the same source that the millions of people for the carousel came from. And you can only run it 3 months, 4 months out of the year tops. Good investment, definitely.
Well, you know, again, diversionary tactics.
Yes.
You know, it's always the promise of you know, it's the promise of, you know, no matter how bad you have it now, you'll ultimately get to heaven. Well, that's what we get. You know, no matter how bad it is in Fall River, you know, we're going to ignore the fact that we have just been voted the 4th most dangerous city in the state by another organization. Mm-hmm. We're in the top 50 nationally. Now we're the 4th most dangerous city in the state, and we're one of the poorest cities in the state. Yet these are the kind of things that they they try to say we're going to develop our economy with. Waltzing water, lights on the bridge, not about making our community safer, better, and more attractive to people that are middle class or better to move in who have money to support an economy. No, what we want to do is build more low-income housing and bring more people in who have no money to spend to keep businesses afloat. You know, this is one of the problems why we need political change. Not only with the mayor is a unique case. I don't think we can take another year of Will Flanagan, because when the net school spending comes due and the pay-as-you-throw doesn't raise as much money as they thought, his answer is always more taxes and more fees. And, you know, and now we got a $51 million capital outlay. We're already $500 million in the hole with bonds. I mean, God, how much debt are we going to accumulate?
Well, you know, it's kind of like the guy who has the credit card, or the woman who has the credit card, and they max it out, so then they get another one, and they max it out, and they get another one, and they max it out, and they get another one, until finally the credit bureaus and the creditors say no more, and they go, oh, I can't pay it now. Bankruptcy. I mean, is that what Fall River's going to do? We're going to just max out our credit cards until we go, oh, receivership.
Yeah, well, it looks like it because, but the difference between if you and I get a whole bunch of credit cards and they stop giving us credit cards and we can't pay, we go bankrupt and we lose everything. But the problem is when a city does it, when the mayor leads the charge, it's not him that's going bankrupt. He's going to take his salary and the money he's made and move away for the Rhode Island. Maybe now maybe not its problem. Maybe it's Pawtucket where he got his lawyer from. Didn't even get a Massachusetts lawyer to represent him on a Massachusetts statute. But he's going to bankrupt us, all of us, all the taxpayers. He's going to leave this city worse off than it's ever been in its history, and we will probably go down in history as the biggest economic disaster in this nation. We may supersede Detroit. It's utterly absurd to think of the concepts that we have running our government. Another $51 million in bonds. He's like, hey, to hell with it. You know why? Yeah, of course it's to hell with it. If my neighbors were paying all my credit cards, I'd get 100 credit cards. If it was them I was going to get bankrupt, not me, I wouldn't give a damn either.
And remember, this mayor does not pay taxes. He does not pay taxes to the city of Fall River for anything except maybe his car. Other than that, he doesn't own property. So when he turns around and says, 2.5% property tax increase, not a big deal. He doesn't feel it. Water fee increase. He doesn't feel it. Pay as you throw. Where he lives, they have dumpsters.
Oh wait, he's got the selfie with the bags.
Yeah.
We ran that on last week's show.
Yep.
He's got the selfie with the bags, but that'll be the one and only time he buys the bags. If you see him walking through the checkout counter with the bags, it's the same roll. Don't believe it.
You know, but back to the city council meeting, you know, a couple of people who viewed it made some comments last night that, you know, we were personalizing our attacks on the city councilors. I've never known either you or I to make any comments to a particular city councilor at any one time, except maybe to call a point of order for some reason, because none of the infamous 8 sitting there, you know what to do. But, you know, I know yesterday I did not identify anyone who made specific comments, nor did I say, you know, you did this. I mean, because we could have always, you know, you can always point to certain people that did things. I mean, there's a certain person who sits on the council that if you whack them on the back, their face will crack. You know, I mean, it's just the way it is. But you see the opposition, or as we like to call them, the Flanagan trolls, who will come out and say anything to make people seem not so credible, including getting the dead to vote. You know, I mean, that's taken straight out of Chicago. We know this. But has Fall River become Zombieland?
Well, they're trying to make that. Again, it's another diversionary tactic. They're trying to say, and as I said, you and I have been in front of that council so many times. It's not a personal attack when you're dealing with an issue. That's what they're elected to do. They're electable to represent us. And if a citizen has issue with the way a councilor has voted or disagrees, they have a right to do this. And I think during your comments, we don't have to name councilors. If 3 councilors voted in a way that we disliked and we deal with that issue, we don't have to name the 3 councilors. Everybody knows that it's the 3 councilors who have an opposing view. And we have a right to an opposing view. My presentation basically didn't name any councilors. My presentation, and CJ was on the bond issue, he hit some great points. And I went up there basically to remind these people, because there was a lot of misrepresentation after the Tuesday night board meeting of the Board of Health.
But I think you went a little overboard with some of those people because they were lost. They were dumbfounded. You were giving an American history lesson on some basic stuff that we should all know, and people were standing going, what?
Well, I think I think it's kind of sad that I have to remind the legislative body of our community that they are answerable to the people. It was obvious that we had to remind them that the Constitution of this state says that the power resides with the people, as does our Declaration of Independence and our Constitution, which I quoted. And also I quoted a law that says the City Council has a right to override the Board of Health because they are the elected body. They are the legislative body. The Board of Health was appointed. The fact is that every once in a while, you have to remind them that is the House of the people. They are not the government, and that's what I said. You are not the government. We're the government. You're elected to represent us, not to represent political interests, but to represent the people. And that argument is a fact. It's not an argument. That's what our nation's Constitution says. That's what our state Constitution says. That's what this nation was founded on. And to discount people and to trivialize their opinions or make them seem inconsequential because they comprise a minority, they have to be reminded that the reason that this recall group has grown so greatly is because when you begin to treat the people that way, you are going to reach a breaking point, as we did with pay as you throw, to where that minority will rapidly become a majority.
Well, it's very interesting because you're talking about that. And last night when they brought up rescinding the fees that the Board of Health had passed, one city councilor, basically gave the finger to the citizens. 8 people wanted this to go forward and 1 objected. And the moment they objected, it was done. That means it has to come back at the next city council meeting, the next 2 meetings actually, and they can't object again, and they will have to vote on it. But that was basically, I don't care what these people want. It was the same thing the Board of Health did. Tom Corey told me before that Board of Health meeting, it's already passed. This is just perfunctory,
And you're right. And the fact is that, when Tom Corey does that, we don't have really much to say because he's an appointee. But when our duly elected representatives, and that's what I said yesterday, this is not a democracy, it's a republic, which is a representative form of government. But the power always rests in the people. But now when you have a city councilor that has basically said, we don't care. I don't care if I have the power to override a vote that was taken by non-elected people, which flies in the face of our government. That person, Pat Casey, does not belong occupying a seat in government. She doesn't even understand what her duties and responsibilities are under the Constitution of this state and what her obligations to the people are. And it's obvious that she's there for one reason, to get people's potholes fixed quickly without going through the process, to make real estate deals behind closed doors on a Belial school, to use her political position to foster her own agenda. not the people's job and the people's work. So, we're not going to recall you. As I said, recall elections are for unique situations. But I can tell you one thing, Pat. I am going to work my butt off to make sure you're the first person booted out of that chamber because you don't deserve to sit in that chair.
Wow, that's some pretty strong statements there. It's time for the people to step up. The one thing that, the mayor's saying is the recall people only have 700 and some odd likes. I've got 11,000. Chip has made the joke all the time that the 11,000 is 6 people going like over and over again. But this recall group has over 2,800 people. And if each of those people sign the recall sheet, they've already got the signatures necessary to recall the mayor. So it's not going to be as difficult as a lot of people believe. And comments were made from the city clerk's office, from elections, that it's quite possible these petitions could be turned in on Monday and have enough signatures to enact the recall. Once the recall certificate signatures are certified, the mayor has 5 days to withdraw, to resign. And after that, 60 days later, an election. We'll see what happens, and we'll keep you apprised here at the show. Thank you for watching Spindle City Straight Talk. We're having a great time here, and we need you to get involved in your city politics, your city government, and you need to really be on top of what's going on, because Chipper and I, we're getting tired.
Well, as CJ and I always say, if you want change, be the change. The fact is that we've got a couple minutes left. So let me just say this. This recall is as much about a process of the citizens being able to speak. And win, lose, or draw, the process and its integrity has been adhered to. And that's what this country's about. And you know something? If he's still got his supporters and he can not get recalled, well, so be it. The fact is that, but the process, we have had our ability to speak. Just like now, he wants to have a public forum. And I disagree with the people that say we'll participate, because I think the public forum should have been held before you took the action, not because you have been backed into a corner and now your response is to do what you should have done before the process. Too little, too late, Mr. Mayor.
And the interesting thing is that many of the original 12 signature people who signed the petition have been threatened or maligned by city employees. There's one gentleman who his wife was approached by a school department person and was threatened and told, if you know what's good for you, you will stay away from this recall process. Is that due process? Is that what the voters need? But these are people who work for the mayor, support the mayor, and support his campaign. That's not what we want. The people who have been fighting for this, the people who have gone into the city council chambers, they've been vilified by the mayor to the point that the mayor is now going to make police officers present to escort everyone around. And he's even, at your expense, increased his own security presence because I guess somebody made a comment that was facetious. But it's costing us money. Remember that. And remember, every dime spent comes out of your pocket.
And coming soon, purple T-shirts with CJ's
No
little
more
jingle.
shenanigans.
No more shenanigans. Recall Flanagan. Thanks, CJ, for that one. So watch for our people.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
And sign the petition.